If you grew up watching football in the 2000s, then your life would have been something like this. Football at the turn of the century? It was peak cinema. So many moments to make you get off your seat, and so many players too. But we're just trying to pick the best 10 out of the lot. So, without wasting time, let's get into it. Hang on a sec. In case you're watching this and still haven't subscribed to Futbol Historia yet, it's as easy as hitting that subscribe button down below. And at number 10, it's a pretty interesting pick. Lionel Messi. If this one was an era after, Messi would have been higher on the list. But you see guys, the thing is, the 2000s was Messi's origin story. He made his debut for Barcelona in 2004 and in the space of 4 years had already announced himself as one of the most promising talents on the planet. He won the FIFA Under-20 World Cup Golden Ball in 2005 after helping Argentina win the Under-20 World Cup that year. In 2006, he unfortunately got injured, but still picked up a winner's medal with Barcelona in the first Champions League win since 1992. Messi's reputation was already growing at this point, and by 2007, he enhanced it with a 2.0 of one of the best goals the game has ever seen. Encara Messi. By 2007, Messi was voted the third best player on the planet. 2008, he came second, and by 2009, at the end of the noughties, Messi stood alone. 38 goals and 19 assists in 51 games to help Barcelona win the treble that year. A goal in the Champions League final as well. Messi had now become the best player in the world. It's enough to earn him the 10th spot on the list, and at number 9, it's his arch-rival, Cristiano Ronaldo. Much like Messi, Ronaldo too had his origin story in the 2000s. The only difference is that he started earlier. Ronaldo was already making waves for Sporting Lisbon in the Portuguese top flight, but after tormenting John O'Shea in a pre-season friendly versus Man United, the Red Devils became so impressed that they struck a deal to sign him on the spot, and the rest was history. Ronaldo evolved at Man United from a skinny-looking winger at the club in 2003. By the mid-2000s, Ronaldo was already being touted as one of the best players in the world. In 2007, he finished second in the Ballon d'Or rankings, just behind Kaká. But that 2008 season was as sensational as he gets. He broke the then Premier League record for the most goals in a season with 31, was the Champions League top scorer, and scored the goal you've just seen in the final, helping Man United win the Champions League. 42 goals in all competitions for United. It's very important to point out that he did this from left wing. It's ridiculous. However guys, the 2000s wasn't just about goals. It also saw some of the greatest midfielders to play the game, Xavi Hernandez. To be honest, it feels weird doing this and mentioning Xavi without his partner in midfield for years, Andres Iniesta. But for this era, Xavi was already an established first-team regular for both Barcelona and the national team by the time people caught wind of Iniesta.
The thing I loved about Xavi, I would say, was nobody in the world who ever played against Xavi could stop him doing what he wanted to do.
Xavi was that good. He controlled the game and dictated the tempo no matter the opposition. He had everything. Quick passes, ball control, the ability to play an incisive pass or pick out a teammate in difficult positions, and was so aware of what was going on around him that it became extremely difficult to dispossess him. Xavi rarely lost the ball. Xavi was so good that when Spain won the Euros for the first time in 2008, despite players like Fernando Torres grabbing the goals, it was Xavi who got voted as the best player in the competition. Then add to this the fact that by the end of the 2000s, Xavi had won La Liga twice and the Champions League twice, was named La Liga's Spanish Player of the Year in 2005, and a year before that was already vice-captain of Barcelona. The same way Xavi dominated the midfield for Barcelona and Spain was the same way this next player was a colossus for Italian and European football. The benchmark for defenders across the planet, except it's not quite who you think it is, Alessandro Nesta. Now guys, it might seem controversial getting Nesta on the list ahead of defenders like his partner for years, Paolo Maldini, or even the likes of John Terry or the 2006 Ballon d'Or winner, Fabio Cannavaro. But with Nesta, he's got every right to be on this list. For starters, Nesta was the Rolls-Royce of defenders before the term even became a thing. See guys, when Nesta joined AC Milan in 2002, he became a part of something special. a clean tackler, and a proper defender, Nesta also had the chance to learn from Paolo Maldini, who is now well into his 30s, won Serie A early on, and his crowning achievement, the one thing he's got over Paolo Maldini, he was part of the 2006 Italian team that conquered the world. For Alessandro Nesta, defending was effortless. That's how good he was. He could get the ball off the opposition without breaking a sweat. But the thing that stands out about Nesta and sets him apart is his positioning. The greatest defenders in the world know that the best way to defend isn't by tackling, it's by positioning in such a way the threat is over before it even starts. Classic Alessandro Nesta. It'll be hard to tackle the system of Italian football and players in general that dominated this era without talking about one of the game's greatest goalkeepers, Gianluigi Buffon. The 2000s witnessed an impressive collection of goalkeepers, the likes of Iker Casillas, Petr Cech, and Oliver Kahn, but Gianluigi Buffon comes top of the lot. To say Buffon was a talented goalkeeper in itself sounds like an understatement. After making the move from Parma to Juventus in 1997, Buffon quickly established himself as one of the very best on the planet, and coming into this era, there wasn't much better than him. The 2006 World Cup was his crowning moment, as was the year in general. He was Italy's first-choice goalie when they won the World Cup in Germany, producing some incredible saves along the way. He got voted by the IFFHS as the best goalkeeper of the year 4 times in the 2000s. That is very impressive, and to top it off, his teammate Fabio Cannavaro won the Ballon d'Or in 2006, but it was Buffon who finished second place. He finished second in the running for the best player in the world as a goalkeeper. Let this sink in. Buffon was a mainstay for Italy and Juventus throughout this period. Narrowly lost the 2003 Champions League final to AC Milan, he won Serie A twice in this era, the Supercoppa Italiana twice, and was Serie A's best goalkeeper of the season 7 times. Now guys, we're heading into the top 5, and the players on this side of the list completely defined this era. Thierry Henry, he was everything. Elegance, speed, poise, dribbling, finishing, trophies, goals, assists, playing anywhere across the front line.
Henry was the best striker for me in the Premier League. Drifts all over the pitch. When he comes inside, gets ahead of steam, he's dribbling. That's a problem for you. Good running behind you, skillful, strong.
Henry in the 2000s was simply on another level. The numbers he put up in the 2002-03 season in the modern game could very easily have won him a Ballon d'Or.
2003, he had 32 goals, 28 assists that season.
He made the Premier League Golden Boot his own and won the award an incredible 4 times. He won the European Golden Shoe, the award for the highest top scorer in the top 5 European leagues, twice. Made the UEFA Team of the Year 5 times, PFA Team of the Year from 2001 to 2006, was runner-up with France from the World Cup in 2006. He won the Premier League twice, won the FA Cup twice, was a Champions League runner-up in 2006, broke the all-time goals record for Arsenal in this period. I've said all of this and still haven't talked about his period at Barcelona yet. Wow. Henry moved to Barcelona in 2007 and wasted no time in winning straight away. He was Barcelona's top scorer in his first season at the club in the 2007-08 season. And in his second, he finally won European football's biggest competition.
Well, I will always have disappointment with Arsenal because Arsenal is in my heart and in my blood. Everybody knows that, but that will always remain a disappointment of my career. But tonight, you know, I'm happy. I'm happy for my family, for all the stuff that I suffered since I'm playing football.
The Champions League. Purposefully avoided his World Cup win with France in 1998 to focus on his achievements in the 2000s. What a player. Truth is, Henry should have been the best forward on this list, but the only reason he isn't ranked higher is that in this same period, O Fenomeno existed too. That he is on the list despite what happened to him, that's impressive in itself. Ronaldo Nazario started the 2000s in the worst way possible. He suffered knee injuries twice, with the second one exploding his kneecap. Missed just about 2 seasons out with the injuries and rehab, came back in time for the World Cup and was the star of the show. 8 goals in the tournament, including 2 in the final, to give Brazil a 5th World Cup title. He won the 2002 Ballon d'Or, a standing ovation at Old Trafford after scoring a hat-trick against Man United. 104 goals in 5 seasons for Real Madrid remained the standard for attackers with his finishing and dribbling, and he'd done all this despite the knee injuries that took away his explosiveness. It's incredible. There is no doubt what Ronaldo Nazario would have gone on to achieve in this era had it not been for the injuries he suffered. But even with that, his records show he was that impressive. He'd have to settle for fourth though, because at number 3, it was an unlikely hero at the beginning that ended up becoming one of the best players of that era. Usually, players start their way up by building a profile with smaller clubs, and then, if they're lucky enough, making it big with the national team. For Ricardo Kaká, it was the opposite. Kaká rose to fame after making his debut for Brazil in 2002, getting called up for the World Cup that year, and being a part of the team that won it shortly after. A move to AC Milan was next, and it's safe to say in the seasons that followed, Kaká only got better. That's what made Kaká special.
When I think about Kaká, he was almost like our first Brazilian European. Ronaldinho, R9, Rivaldo played like your typical Brazilians, the Nilsson, the 100 step-overs and all that.
He wasn't the typical Brazilian of that era, in the sense that he didn't need to do step-overs or fancy tricks before he could become good or get into the team. He was flair. His touch on the ball could be a man for pace, understanding in tight spaces.
Number 10, there are 2 players, Zidane, the first one, and Kaká. For the efficiency, I think Kaká.
His manager at AC Milan, Carlo Ancelotti, holds him in high regard. To be honest, anyone who watched him in this period would do the same. There's the famous story of how Kaká arrived in Milan dressed like a schoolboy, with the Milan players doubting if he was a footballer, and by the end of his first training session, Kaká had impressed the likes of Gattuso so much that they were demanding he'd start the next league match that weekend. Kaká was a trailblazer. He proved that it didn't take an excessive abundance of skills to become exceptional in football. He was as efficient as he understood the basics of the game, but the man in second place was mercurial to say the least. There's not much to say about Zinedine Zidane that hasn't already been said. In the 90s, particularly toward the mid and late parts of that era, he was already turning heads, but step into the 2000s and Zidane played like a god. When Real Madrid splashed €77.5 million to make him the most expensive player in the world, a move like this would have come with some pressure and the expectations to hit the ground running. Except Zidane never felt pressure. He played the game as he wanted to. If Zidane wanted a slow-tempo game, that's what he played. If he wanted to switch it up and go high, that's what he did. We could go on and on about his touch and mastery of ball control, because sometimes the stuff he did, particularly in game day situations, they were out of this world. He retired in 2006, but don't get it wrong. Zidane didn't retire because he was old or had lost his touch. He retired just the way he wanted to, at the top of the game. His last tournament as a pro was the 2006 World Cup, and in it, Zidane was the star turn. The performance versus Brazil, so many incredible highlights from that competition. And he won the Golden Ball as he was the best player in the competition too. Zidane is well deserving of this second spot on the list. But at number 1, and the best player of the 2000s era, is the man whose smile lit up a generation, Ronaldinho. Football, work of art.
This guy transcends football for me. Ronaldinho, he won the Champions League once, which I found outstanding when we was doing the research. But what he does and how he moved football fans, and look, watch this here. This is against AC Milan.
That's Nesta. Top draw Nesta.
The streets will never forget him, Reed. I played in this game. I've never seen a stadium silence. It was like Stamford Bridge had glitched.
I could tell you how good or how important Ronaldinho was to the sport, but I'd rather just show you instead.
Bueno, yo siempre lo dije, el primer momento que entré en el estadio para mí fue todo muy fácil por el hecho de que Ronaldinho, los brasileños que estaban en ese momento, Deco, Silvinho, Mota, enseguida me acogieron, sobre todo él, ¿no? Que era el referente.
I have to go for Ronaldinho because he was my idol when I was younger.
At what point did you try and play like Ronaldinho when you were younger?
I tried a little bit to play like Ronaldinho when I was younger. I had some tackles, to be honest, yeah, he played up front, I played in the back. But now the joy he brings to the pitch and qualities, goals, assists, tricks, enjoyment, so really fantastic player.
I could also show you more clips of footballers talking about Ronaldinho and how much they idolised him, but I think you get the idea by now. After the 2002 World Cup, the one he won with Brazil, scoring one of the most unbelievable goals you'll ever see, Ronaldinho continued to get better. From the period of 2004 to 2007, there was no better footballer on the planet than Ronaldinho. He had Barcelona selling out the Nou Camp just so fans could come and watch him play, always with that smile on his face. a defender's nightmare because he had so many tricks they never knew which one he was going to come up with. He could score goals too and provide assists, and quite impressively of course, that night at the Bernabeu, a standing ovation at the home of Barcelona's biggest rivals, Real Madrid. To be able to achieve this, only one or two players in history, as well as winning the Ballon d'Or, Ronaldinho was something else. Unplayable. Ronaldinho certainly made his mark at Barcelona, and now another Brazilian is doing the same too. Rafinha has been on a tear this season across all competitions, and you want to find out how good he is actually? Well, click on the video.